What do you want? Who wants to go first?
I'm a bit more awake. Why don't I go first?
Okie doke.
Buyer's remorse.
Hello and welcome to Buyer's Remorse. I'm Darren.
I'm Justin.
On Buyer's Remorse, we like to torture each other with games that are in our library, unplayed. Might be unplayed for a reason, because they're complete trash. Or maybe they're awesome, who knows. What did I pick for you this time?
You picked a game called Arcade Moonlander.
Oh yeah, I picked this one so that you didn't pick it for me, because I've got it as well.
I know. That was going to be one of my first questions, was whether you've actually tried it. Have you tried it?
Nope.
All right.
Looks like absolute hell.
It could be. This game is only $1 base. Even if we had paid for it, which we didn't, it would still be quite cheap. Only 44 reviews. It has positive, but not overwhelmingly positive. Developer is Daniel Paul Griffin, which I wondered at first if that was 3 different people.
Right, okay.
But in the game, it actually just says developed by Daniel Griffin. So
okay.
that kind of fixes that. Publisher is Back of Nowhere Studios. This game comes from October of 2017. The Steam description is, explore space and race against the clock in this retro-styled adventure game. I'm not sure I would say adventure game. I think that tag should not be there, but that's because I have a very different opinion as to what makes an adventure game. It also says there's partial controller support. I didn't get the controller working, so I question that one a lot.
Partial just for the menu, maybe.
Have you looked at the videos of this?
Yeah, it reminds me of an old game. I don't know. I played it on Spectrum or Commodore, and it was a game called Thrust, where you had to boost your ship, and you had to zip through caves, and it was basically a physics game where you had to push on the thrust and get the angle right, and just not touch the walls basically, or you would die. It looked like another version, a more updated version of that. I like the idea of Thrust, but man, I hated it when I was a kid.
Well, I'd say it's probably exactly the same then. There are no colors. It's all monochromatic. It's either black, gray, or white. The backgrounds look decent. The ship is very pixel art sprite. And that's pretty much exactly what the game appears to be. You have controls that are either left or right, which turns your ship in 360 degrees. So it just depends how long you hold the button for. You can then thrust using up. I don't think down does anything. If it does, then I messed up a number of times. You apparently can use the spacebar to boost while you're thrusting. I never did that. Maybe I should go back and try that just to see what it actually does. But the thing is, once you get through the first few levels, you are going through tunnels and caves and things, so you don't want to go too fast. At least I don't want to.
Yeah.
Maybe people who are trying to go for the super top speed and time, I don't care. I just want to not die.
Right. Did you have to pick up anything? Because I remember in the original Thrust, you had a little kind of grappling hook that would come out the back, and you could pick up things like fuel or something to keep going through the levels.
I didn't run across that yet. I did make it to level 10, and in level 10 I could see there was a fuel thing, but it was so outside of the area I needed to be, it didn't seem like it'd be worth it to go all the way around to get it to come all the way back up.
Right.
I kind of felt like, if I did that, I may as well not have gone at all. I feel like I would come back around and be possibly even less. So I never tried it. I don't know if it would give me an extra fuel tank, but in that level you start off at 100. So if I picked it up, would it just take me back to 100? Because it would take me way more than that to get back up to the top. I think that would be for people who are doing the level for the first time and maybe went around to see if there's a shortcut and then was disappointed to find out that there wasn't.
Oh, here we go. We've left you enough fuel just to get back.
Just to get back up again, yeah. That's basically what the game is. There are, from what I could tell, it looks like about 30 levels. I only made it to 10 in an hour. It's not easy.
No.
The game basically doesn't tell you a whole lot. There's not a lot of HUD interface. You have one sort of circle with an arrow which points you in the direction of the base you're supposed to go to.
Okay.
And that's kind of it. You have to follow that. Now, this is a Moonlander, so you have to take gravity into account. The way I would describe this game is very much like asteroids physics.
Mm-hmm.
Once you start going, you just keep going. Except for the vertical up and down. That will pull you down. So you have to take gravity into account. Was that true in Thrust as well?
Yeah. And so if you're heading in one direction and if you want to slow down, you've got to point your ship. If you're heading off to the right and you want to slow down on the x-axis, you've got to point your ship to the left, thrust the opposite direction so you slow down. It's just a horrible control system, isn't it? I just found that so frustrating. So frustrating.
The game is... Yeah, it's not easy. And I think that one of the things that could make the game much easier if it told you what speed you were going at in some way, because you have to land slowly and you have to land very slowly. And it's hard to tell. There were a few times where I was landing and I thought it was slow enough. And then the game said, no, you've crashed. And I had to start that one over again. The first one, I mean, it scaffolds you up. So the first level is clearly just go straight down and try to land and get the right speed. So that was good. 2 is, okay, now you have to move, I think, to the right a bit and then land. So you're having to deal with the left and right. So that part works well. Level 3 or 4 is the first one where you start just above a tunnel that's going through, but you could also go over a mountain and get to it. But I actually found it was easier to go through the cave.
Really?
In this one. We're talking level 4. But after that, the choice seems to be taken away because your base is going to be inside. One of them looked very much like the digestive tract of a human being. You're having to navigate down through all of those things to get to the base at the bottom.
Who builds a base here?
Yeah, what is this base for? I don't see them mining anything. I don't see them doing anything. The other ones, yeah, it's just tricky. There's one level that had a creature with a mouth, which I'm sure would kill you, but I died on everything else on that level, but not that, because there's a lot of space. I imagine in some of the later levels that will probably come into play.
So it sounds like slow progress then. If you get to level 10 and levels 1 to 3 are more or less tutorial, then you spent a long time on the next 6 levels.
That is true, but I would say that even the first level took me a few tries. The second level took me a few tries. I don't even know, having made it to level 10, if I went back to level 1, level 1 I could probably do.
Yeah.
But level 2, it's so easy to mess up. It's so easy to go just a little bit too fast or a little bit too far. And then having to correct yourself, it's very easy to overcorrect. Yeah. Or very easy to assume, oh, I'll make it. And you just don't quite.
Did you find yourself by level 10 really tilting, trying to just zip back to the area that you got to and then messing up even more?
Here's the typical pattern for me. The first few times I'm trying very hard to get it. There'll be some crash that I don't feel should have happened. Mm-hmm. I'll get very angry, and that's when I'll start trying to zip through. And then after a few times of that, I'll go, okay, obviously it's not working. I have to go back to going slowly. And my trick is just, I don't worry about the time. I want to go as slowly as possible. I want to conserve as much fuel as possible because I don't ever want to hit a level where I get to the end and lose just because I'm out of fuel.
Yeah, that would suck. Is there a checkpoint system?
Or, no.
So you just got to get the whole way through to the end of the level in one go?
Yes.
Oof.
But I don't know if these levels are as long as Thrust was. These levels aren't very big.
Okay.
But they can be very complicated. When you get to level 10 is basically a spiral that you have to go all the way around to get.
Wow.
And that I just couldn't get there. I got so close. There's one section in particular where the gap is very narrow and I crashed there so many times. And that's, I think, your second circle through.
Oh.
So it's that's why it can be so incredibly frustrating because you can get so far and one little mistake and welcome to the beginning of the level again.
Oh man. Terrible.
Was Thrust in color?
Well, nothing in Spectrum. Well, pretty much almost nothing in Spectrum was in color anyway. It was maybe if you were lucky, you had 4 colors in a game. Thrust was definitely black and white though. But it had this weird part of the game where you had to grappling hook stuff. you had to transport things. And so that really messed up your physics, because imagine you've got like a giant wrecking ball on the bottom of your ship. And so if you start angling yourself too far to the right, then you get this spinning motion of you. And trying to correct that was just a nightmare.
I was thinking of what it would be like if you go too far to the right and then you're trying to go back to the left, but you've got this weight that's still
Yeah, exactly. It's swinging you off. Like, for a Spectrum game at the time, the physics were pretty good. It felt real, felt good, but the graphics were just like a triangle ship. Yeah, actually, have a look. Look it up and see what you think. See if you can see the connection.
This ship looks a little bit better, and I'm imagining the background looks better, but it's roughly the same. I would say the physics, they do feel pretty good, but like you said, the controls are not great. And the information, I felt I wasn't getting enough information. Speed would have helped a lot to have an idea of how fast am I going and what is the right speed to be landing at.
Especially for landing, if they're just saying, oh, just wing it, what is it? Like,
or even just a warning,
you're too fast.
Too fast. Then I could hit up. I could thrust up a bit and then try again. Mm-hmm. You don't have any of that.
Yeah, that sounds like a bit of that sounds like maybe just a kick in the teeth kind of thing. Like, oh, you messed it up. Sorry, do it all again.
At the same time, there's only 30 levels. But
I think only. I think 30 is plenty.
But, well, here's the way I look at it. With 30, it feels possible.
Right.
It feels like that's a nice limited number. If I saw 130, then I definitely would be like, okay, I'm out of this.
Yeah.
But 30, it's tantalizingly small. It seems plausible. But there are two other modes. Oh. One is, I think, adventure, and there's another mode. But both of them, I thought, okay, well, I've done half an hour of the arcade version. Let me try these other ones. But you can't get those until you've finished level 10.
Oh, God, so you're almost there.
I was almost there. But level 10 just crushed me. That took forever, and I still didn't get it.
Do you think it's possible, though, to finish it? I mean, obviously it's possible, but do you think it's possible for you to finish it?
I think it's only possible if I'm incredibly patient and if I'm really persistent. It would be interesting to see what happens in level 11. It would also be interesting to see what happens in those other modes.
Yeah.
Like, does one of those modes have the weight thing that we have to grapple? I don't think I'd want to do that, but it would be interesting to see if that's what that means. Otherwise, I'm not exactly sure what it means. If there's a story somehow, because in the arcade version, there's no story or anything. Just land your rocket. That's it. Just land it. And that's kind of the game.
So do you think I should give it a shot then?
It's free. If you want a bit of nostalgia thrust. Well, it's not free. It's $1, but we got it for free. You already own it. So you want a bit of nostalgia, give it a try. I would estimate 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'll go back and go, yeah, and then I'll realize, oh man, actually, I hate this game. So who would you think this game's targeted at then? Who would you recommend this for then?
I definitely think this is the type of game for old arcade, Atari level, Spectrum level games. People that love that kind of game, maybe. People that like really tricky physics, because that is basically all the game is.
Would you say it's a kind of coffee break game, like One Finger Death Punch kind of thing, where you can just switch it on for 10 minutes and then do a level?
You certainly could. Firing it up takes seconds.
Yeah.
It's not a memory-heavy game, obviously. And getting into it would be fine. What I think might be the problem, though, is I would find that very frustrating. Because I could go for days on the same level and not getting there.
Right.
And I think that after a few days of that, going, oh, level 10 again, never mind, I'm just done with this game.
Do you think it's more of a getting over it with Ben Foddy kind of thing?
I've never played it.
But you know what it is.
I know what it is, and I don't think that it's that bad. I feel like that one is designed to be frustrating.
Yeah.
This one is, but it's not like... What was the Surgeon game?
Surgeon Simulator.
Yeah, it's not anything like that. It's not the controls are purposely bad.
Right.
It's just that the controls are very tricky given the environment, given that there's virtually no friction to slow you down, and that gravity is not as strong as you would expect it to be. And that for some reason, they decide to put a base in the middle of a spiral of asteroids. But it doesn't feel unfair in that way. The only thing to me that really felt unfair out of the 10 I've played is just not knowing if I'm going slow enough.
Mm-hmm.
And an indicator, even just, hey, you're going too fast, would have been extremely helpful.
Yeah, a warning, an alarm. So how about you? Will you go back and play it then? Would you go back and get that level 10? That sweet level 10?
I might, especially because of the other kinds of play that are locked, and I'm curious.
Mm-hmm.
I would kind of like to see that.
There's always YouTube.
Well, that's true. And I got so close. It would be a kind of accomplishment, a personal accomplishment, to feel like, okay, I did level 10, and look at level 11. It's got to get worse, right? So I have a feeling that I would look at level 11 and go, no, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
But I would kind of like to see what comes next. How much worse does it get?
Mm-hmm. And so how would you tag this then?
I think retro.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely feels like that. Pixel art, obviously. Actually, I would almost take away the pixel art because it's so obvious from not only the description, but any picture you see of it. I think better would be physics or physics puzzler,
mm-hmm.
because that feels much more conducive to what it is. And then just, really difficult, tricky. Something like that needs to be in there because it's not an easy game. This
Hard
is one.
mode.
Yeah, from the beginning. But it feels very arcade. This is the type of game that, we would have played in the arcade, would have put our quarters in, and it would have been designed to eat our quarters.
Right.
In the arcade game, though, you would have had 3 lives.
Yeah.
But here, it's just continues, free continues.
Mm.
But if you want a bit of that nostalgia feel, bit of that old school asteroids type physics, or in your case, thrust, give it a go. But it's not going to be a game that I'm going to rush to finish.
So that's Buyer's Remorse or confirmation then?
Well, I got it for free. And as frustrating as it was, it doesn't feel unfair. I enjoyed my hour. That's a confirmation.
Buyer's confirmation.
Ding!